What is good, Internet? I'm your host, MXT. Welcome to the channel you randomly stumble upon. Home to random topics you've never thought of before in your life. Now, in honor of the soon-to-be-released installment of the Renegades Trilogy Supernova, I've decided to pay tribute to this series and give a huge shout out to the story that definitely blown my mind. Disclaimer, all sources for this video has been cited and this is a non-sponsored video. And of course, spoilers. Now that you've been warned, let's begin this video right now. When it comes to Western pop culture and Eastern pop culture, what do we really think about? Being exposed to these popular story genres of the supernatural has been an everyday occurrence in our everyday lives. You know, those who are in positions of power.
Power, the divine right to rule, is something you're born with.
Or journeying to obtain such power.
Check this out! From now on, I'm gonna work my butt off to become Hokage!
Or unexpectedly given power and mastering it.
Yes! I hereby accept the terms of your contract! I, Lelouch V. Britannia, command you. Now all of you, die!
Before their powers masters them.
I'm going to do it, please!
Did I?
So after being exposed to these examples for so long, I thought I finally outgrew my imagination because I was a prisoner of my own mind. It just felt like everything was being repeated pretty much over and over again, that I just felt that there was just nothing left for me to be excited about anymore. I felt like my days of being a child in my own head is pretty much, over. And yeah, pretty much that's it. However, one day, just like any other day when I completed my first semester at the university level, I happened to stumble upon a particular book that piqued my interest. When I was just at the local bookstore, and suddenly right after I left the bookstore, I just couldn't help but being drawn to make a U-turn. I just had to go back and get that book, otherwise I'll probably get in an accident or something like that. So here's the story in a nutshell about the book.
Renegades is my superhero story. It's the first of a trilogy, and it is about a girl named Nova who has been raised by supervillains, and she hates the Renegades, which are a syndicate of very powerful superheroes who pretty much run the world that she's in. And she has a good reason to hate them. She believes that they betrayed her family when she was a kid, and so she's made it her mission to take them down. But then she meets a boy named Adrian, who is a renegade, and they start to develop feelings for each other, not realizing that their alter egos are at the same time becoming arch enemies.
So you can pretty much tell that the Renegade Trilogy is different from your typical superhero story. Pretty much the first book, Renegades, just focused like the introduction of the world, like how did things get to this point, and what our main protagonist is doing in the world. While the middle book, Arch Enemies, is like a more of a tipping point. So like she has to make a decision between where she's going, and all these ideology points are just really getting to her. And then finally in the endpoint Supernova is where everything is coming to its conclusion and all is just revealed, and finally the protagonist just has to make an ultimate decision that involves humanity. When it comes to traditional story routes, such as a overpowered character like Superman, who is loved by humanity as a godlike figure that enforces the law through his own methods, such as smashing stuff, or a multi-billionaire such as Batman, who is feared by all through his demon-like appearance that has unorthodox methods of law enforcement which gets him in trouble with the law. Or your typical fanboy who becomes a superhero.
I'm Incrediboy!
Yeah, not him. Not him. Not him at all. Yes, him. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this fanboy who becomes a hero through the inspiration of his hero. Alright, well, jokes aside about the typical fanboy. You know, get it? Alright? All might? Okay, yeah, I'm done with the superhero puns for this episode, but you'll see them in the future, of course. Okay, puns aside, let's get back to the main topic of this video about why there's always a power struggle between the supernatural and why there's always a cycle between these so-called powerful beings versus the not-so-powerful beings. But first, we must look at a real-world example of how humanity governs itself. There's democracy and republic political systems, then there's the monarchy political system, of course, and then there's, communism, you know about them already, so I don't need to explain, and then finally there is dictatorship, of course, Now, I am not going to give you a crash course on these systems, rather I want to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of these political ideology and how is it utilizing in storytelling. Now, for instance, in Legend of Korra, Ruins of an Empire Part 1, our protagonist Korra must decide who to trust as the fate of the Earth Kingdom hangs in the balance, since during the aftermath of Book 4, Balance, we see that the Earth Kingdom is undergoing a transition from a monarchy to a democracy political system. However, when these fictional characters are finding out that when every citizen has an equal say and an opportunity to be voted into their respected state democracy based on a majority vote, then there will always be a ripple effect of the question, are these elected leaders are based on the wishes of the general public, or were they manipulated by a higher organization that has its own agenda that robs the people of a fair election? Overall, this system will get stuck of a number of countless factors, and the defense of humanity's free will always hang in the balance. Democracy may have its flaws, but dictatorship always goes through this cycle.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the First Galactic Empire!
Are we ready to finish what he started? Then at last, the Rebel Alliance is born. Here. Tonight.
We need a flag to rally behind. A symbol.
Now, what Marissa Myers does in her novels isn't your typical superhero story. The story's main protagonist is a resourceful female whose powers are really underestimated because all she does is not go to sleep and puts other people to sleep through physical touch, which gives us, the reader, the chance to read how this character will develop her powers to become the most powerful, while witnessing the personal development through a four-sided relationship. The trilogy focuses more on the journey of the character rather than the ending. That leaves open to a lot of plot twist opportunities. I mean, think of the Renegade Council as the Justice League of America that is the symbol of order, while the Anarchists are the symbol of chaos, who are fighting for the individual freedom to use their superpowers without discrimination from non-superpowered people. While the Renegades are pretty much fighting for the suppression of superpowers, the very identities of individuals to follow their renegade code of conduct to submit to their rule, which ultimately is a power struggle between different ideologies. Overall, this story just reminds us, just like how the world of Renegades has its flaws when it comes to laws of power, we as human beings also have our flaws when it comes to what is best for ourselves and for humanity to bring balance to this world. Just to recap, pretty much the main idea is that the Renegades Trilogy focuses on the power struggles between order and chaos, where the label of what is good and what is evil has a vague definition. Unfortunately, no matter how strong your position of power is, or how much of an influence and reach you have, or even how much talent or super prodigy abilities you possess, in the end, change will always happen whether it's good or bad. Nova is a unique character who questions everything around her from her multiple point of views, from a villain, a hero, a civilian, and her own self, to determine what is the best course of action and bring humanity into balance. Unless you're Thanos and you can snap your problems away, then everything in this video is irrelevant in 3, 2, 1.